I was alone at my favourite fishing spot that resides less than half a mile away from the general public picnic area. I arrived early in the afternoon, readied my fishing pole, and began to fish. The early afternoon had a cool, gentle breeze. The frogs sang to one another, the crickets created a nice little symphony, and the clicking of my fishing reel was carried away by the rushing water of Otter Creek. Hours went by, and I managed to catch a few fish here and there. I popped open some cold Stellas and smoked my camels as the day went by. About 5 or 6 hours into my fishing, the fish were no longer biting. I didn't care. I was there just to get away from the city and take away some stress off my shoulders. I needed it since my job had kicked my ass that week. I was in no rush to leave. I had plenty of beers in my cooler and plenty of cigarettes to smoke. I even ate sunflower seeds and beef jerky. Both go well with beer. The sun started to settle, and I was feeling pretty toasty by that time. The wind picked up a little, and the leaves on the trees rustled as the branches swayed back and forth. I had already put down my fishing pole since I wasn't having any luck, and drank a couple more beers. I was just relaxing. It was nice and peaceful, until a loud splash occurred about 50 yards down the creek. I jumped at the sound, spilling my beer on me. I looked down the direction of the splash, but saw nothing. Must have been a fish, I thought. It was hard to see since the sun was setting, so everything looked like silhouettes. I stared a little longer down the creek, waiting to see if anything would move. Nothing. Just the trees moving side to side. I shifted my attention back to my beer, chugged the rest of it, and started to gather my things. I stood up, stretched my arms out, and caught something in the corner of my eye move. I quickly looked back down the creek where I had heard the splash, and saw a dark figure standing, slouching in the middle of the creek. I couldn't make out what it was, and I was squinting hard to focus on the figure. I waited a couple of minutes to see if it would move, but it just kept standing in the same spot, doing nothing. I thought my mind was playing tricks on me since I did have one too many beers. I heard another splash, but this time it was up the creek, the direction I needed to go. I shifted my attention up the creek and witnessed a deer walking across the water. I watched the deer disappear into the woods, and I looked back down the creek, and the slouchy figure had vanished. Stupid deer, that's all. Just a dumb deer, I said to myself. I bent down to pick up my things, and I began to hear rocks clacking in the distance. It got louder and louder, closer and closer. It surrounded me, and it was everywhere. Tree branches were being snapped in all directions. The clacking of rocks got louder and then completely stopped. All I could hear was the sound of the rushing water, frogs, the leaves of the trees, and the crickets. My eyes shifted from side to side, trying to catch a glimpse of a person, but it was way too dark to see anything. I pulled out my flashlight from the side pocket of my cooler, shined it all around me. If I thought I saw something or someone, I would hold the light until my mind would learn that it was just a bush or a tree trunk. I was determined to catch whatever the hell it was making all that noise. I should have left instead of staying around. I placed the flashlight under my arm, pulled out a cigarette, placed it in my mouth, flicked my Zippo lighter, lit the cigarette, and used my hand to block the wind from putting out the flame. Then I saw something through the orange glow of the flame. It was standing directly across the creek from where I was standing. I shined my flashlight frantically, revealing a slouchy woman. She was completely nude, but her skin was greyish and scaly. Her head was bent all the way, completely back, showing just the underside of her chin. Her arms hung to her sides, and her hands were long and bony. Her nails were razor sharp, and her whole body was covered in patches of dark hair. What the hell? What is that? What do you want? I asked politely. No response. I was too afraid to move the light anywhere else. I didn't know if there were more of those things. For all I know, I could have been surrounded by them, just waiting to eat me alive. But I had to get out of there fast. Look, I don't know what the hell is going on, but I'm going to get my stuff and leave. I'm going to go now, okay? I said to her, thinking that would make her go away. I slowly bent down to pick up my fishing pole and cooler, keeping the light on the scaly woman. I stood up and she made a twitchy move. I could hear her bones crack, and her skin made the sound of a brand new leather jacket when bending the arm. Then she slowly started to make her way towards me, but she was walking on the water. My eyes widened and my heart started to pound violently. I began to tremble in fear, and the light of my flashlight danced around. She slowly bent down on all fours, her head still bent backwards, and her back arched inward. What I saw next has messed me up. She started to bear crawl on the water towards me, but her body contorted in weird ways, like she didn't have any bones in her body. I was completely paralyzed with fear. The scaly woman stopped dead in the middle of the creek, and her head slowly started to rise forward, and I could hear every neck bone crack. Her mouth was wide open, just a black hole. Her eyes were completely white, and her scalp peered through her wet, stringy black hair. She let out an ear-piercing cry and jolted after me. I dropped my stuff and ran as fast as I could. The sandy bank made it a challenge, but I dug in hard and ran. I could hear the splashing behind me as she came after me. I could hear her bones crack and pop, and the stretching of her skin. She let out another ear-piercing scream, and so did I. My lungs burned as I fought to gasp for air. Goddamn cigarettes. My legs were giving out from underneath me. I fought to keep running. My stomach was in knots, and I wanted to throw up badly. The beer sloshed around in my stomach. Finally, I came to the path that led into the woods. The splashing had stopped. I hid behind a big oak tree and leaned against it, trying to catch my breath. The night fell silent. I couldn't hear the frogs or crickets anymore. Maybe it was because the throbbing in my veins deafened nature's voice. I took deep breaths, trying to calm my heart. Sweat dripped from every crevice of my body. My chest hurt and burned. My sides ached with every inhale due to the fact that I was out of shape. I then started to hear scratching on the other side of the tree. She was clawing the tree bark. My heart pounded once again. The branches of the oak tree shook right above me. She was climbing the damn tree. I slowly shined my flashlight upwards, and there she was, hanging upside down like a bat, staring down at me with her big white eyes and her mouth gaped. She began to climb down the tree like a spider. My survival instincts kicked in, and I took off once again. I ran through the dark woods, avoiding rocks, low-hanging branches, and outgrown roots the best I could. The last thing I wanted to do was trip while being chased by the horrendous monster. I managed to reach the end of the woods. Now it was time to cross the open field and get to my car. I could hear every single branch snap behind me as she made her way out of the dark woods. She was gaining on me. With every last weak muscle in my legs, I ran, giving it everything I had. I was now out in the open with nowhere to hide. The moon shined brightly on the open field, making me an easy target. I glanced back to see her gallop after me. Her back arched upward and her head stretched forward. The bones of her spine poked out from under her skin. I began to slow down. I'd reached my stamina limit. I was screwed. Goddamn cigarettes. My running turned into a jog, and I couldn't catch my breath. I wanted to give up. I wanted this to be over with immediately. I saw my car parked all by its lonesome in the gravel parking lot. With a very heavy exhale, I said to myself, just a few more feet. I fumbled for my keys in my shorts pocket. I hit the unlock button. I overheard the light lit in the inside of my car, telling me it was unlocked. I reached the driver's side door, quickly opened it, jumped in, and jammed the key into the ignition. Turned the key and slammed the gear shifter into drive. I stomped on the gas, and the front tires kicked up gravel, but they spun a few seconds before getting traction. She was arm's length when I managed to drive away. At last, I was on my way out of the creepy woods. I made my way to the asphalt road, and she appeared once again. The headlights illuminated her, casting a long shadow behind her. I hit the gas harder so I could try run her ass over. She lifted up a bony hand in the air and stepped to the right and swiped to my car as I flew by. She managed to penetrate the driver's side door with her claws, and I could hear her tear the metal all the way down to the rear end of my car. As I passed her at high speed, I looked into the rearview mirror and saw her standing in a slouchy position, just watching me through her stringy black hair. The red glow of the brake lights gave her a very demonized look. She got down on all fours and bear crawled her way back into the darkness, back where she belonged. I sped all the way home, ignoring all the speed limit signs and red lights. I didn't give a damn. I just wanted to get home as fast as possible. When I arrived, I parked my car in the driveway, turned off the engine, and sat there for a few minutes to gather my scattered thoughts. I exited my car to survey the damage the thing had done. But there was nothing there. Not a single scratch. I couldn't believe it. Did I imagine it all, I thought? No, it really did happen. My mind and brain were drained completely due to the fear I'd endured. I lit myself a cigarette, stood in my driveway, examining my car with my shifty eyes, trying to make sense of everything. I finished my cigarette, went inside, made sure all the doors and windows were locked, and never went back to my favourite fishing spot.